I have a ton of effects pedals ready to go. I thought it was about time I did a shoegaze lesson. I've been meaning to do this for a while, and the track I'm looking at today is Dreams Burn Down by Ride. And if this goes down well, I'll probably do some more shoegaze a bit later in the year. So I'm going to get started by playing through a bit of the track for you. Then I'm going to take you through how to play it. And I'm also going to be giving you my shoegaze tone and gear tips a bit later in this video. So let's get started. So there we go. I think this is actually one of the great shoegaze tracks. And beyond that, I think it's just a great song. It's got great melodies, great songwriting. And much as I love the sonics and the textures of shoegaze music, it's important to me that the songwriting is great too. And that's certainly the case with Ride. So Ride are an Oxford band. They were initially active in the 1990s, but they've since reformed. They're still making great music. And I recommend their most recent album, actually, which I think is a really strong record. Now, I'm from Oxford or Oxfordshire myself, so I've always had a fondness for Oxford bands, particularly Ride, but also some of the other great Oxford bands, of which there are many. Perhaps that's an idea for a new series of lessons based on Oxford bands, I don't know. Anyway, let me take you through how to play the song, and it's actually pretty easy to play. I think with this style of music, it's not about virtuosity and guitar ability. It's much more about ideas, and it's about textures and sonics. So I'm also going to be talking about that side of things as well. And what kind of shoegaze video would this be if I didn't talk about effects pedals? So I promise that's coming a bit later on. I'm going to start by taking you through the main rhythm guitar parts. I believe these are played by Mark Gardner, and it's all nice, easy strummed chords, quite beginner friendly. And I'm going to demonstrate this with just a simple clean guitar sound, and then feel free to pile on the effects once you know what's going on. So we're in the key of D, and the intro chord pattern is the same as the verse chord pattern, and that goes like this. We've got 2 bars on D, just an open D chord, and for the whole song, the strumming is just a down up 16th note kind of a pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 2 bars on D, then we're changing to F sharp minor, and you can play this as a bar chord at the 2nd fret. And I'm doing a full bar chord here. You could do a kind of partial bar chord like that and mute the low E string, or you could play the root note with the thumb over the top, whatever you feel more comfortable with. But we've got 2 bars of F sharp minor. Then we're going to G for 2 bars. I'm using the so-called rock G, where you've got the 2 fingers on the top 2 strings there. And next we've got 1 bar of A and 1 bar of E minor. And that's it for the intro and for the verse. That just repeats. Then for the chorus, we're starting on the A chord. We've got 2 bars of A. And 2 bars of G. And then we've got the noisy part, which goes like this. And this chord here might be an unfamiliar chord. It's a slightly unusual chord shape, I think. But the way I think of it is it's a D chord, and then you're stretching up with your little finger to the 4th fret on the top string. So you get that nice kind of flat 5th tritone dissonant kind of sound. Not exactly sure what you would call that chord. I suppose it's kind of a D5 with an added flat 5th, but if any of you are theory nerds and know exactly what we should call that, then let me know. But it's basically a D with that G sharp or A flat note thrown in on top, and we've got 3 beats of that. And then we're releasing the little finger just to play a normal D chord. And I think we're doing that 4 times, then the whole thing repeats. We've got A, G, and then that kind of dissonant bit one more time. That's the chorus. So those are the basic chords, and I think you could easily just play a nice acoustic version of this song and it would still stand up really well. But if you want to get properly shoegaze, then you're going to have to turn on the effects. And another important technique is the use of the whammy bar, and this technique is most associated with Kevin Shields. I don't know if he invented it, but with all those My Bloody Valentine records, he's strumming whilst holding on to the whammy bar, and you get this lovely modulation and wobbling in pitch as you strum, and it sounds something like this. We've got this. And then if you turn on all the effects, then you get the full shoegaze sensation. So let me turn on my effects. I'm going to play through a verse and a chorus so you can hear how it all fits together. So the lead guitar is a nice contrasting part to the wall of noise that you've got in the rhythm guitars, and it's played higher up the neck with a cleaner sound, and it's quite melodic and ethereal, but again it's nice and easy to play. And for the intro and for the verse actually it's mainly just 2 notes, and we've got this little motif, and that's just repeated. So we've got a high E at the 12th fret on the top string, And then we're coming down to an A at the 10th fret on the B string. That's really just repeated. Resolves to B at one point, I think, then it continues. And then at the end of the introduction, we've got this lovely descending figure, which goes like this. So we're starting at the 15th fret on the top string, 15, 14, 12, same thing on the B string, and then 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14 on the A string, and then up again. So then we're into the first verse, and I'm not going to take you through every single note here. It's quite a loose, kind of feels semi-improvised, this part. There are lots of little variations and things you can hear. If you do want to play exactly what's on the record, then you might like to check out my transcription where I've written down exactly what I'm hearing. But roughly in the verse we've got this. This 14th fret on the G and B. Then we're back to this. Going up a little bit higher there. Back to the A and the E. Then just walking up a little scale there. So just nice and melodic. All of these notes are from the key of D major, from the D major scale, so you can kind of improvise around those notes if you want to. And then at the end of the verse we've got the same descending line. And for the chorus, remember the rhythm guitar is going to an A chord, and the lead guitar is playing the root and third of that chord up a little bit higher at the 14th fret. So we have, then we're coming down 2 frets to the root and third of a G. And we're just decorating that a little bit with some nice melodic stuff. And then we're into the noisy chords. And I think it's a little bit hard to hear, but I think the lead guitar is essentially playing the same chords here as the rhythm guitar. It's that kind of D with the added flat 5. And sometimes I think it's played 12 frets higher. And you can play it with a 16th note rhythm, but for added intensity I think you can just tremolo pick that as fast as you possibly can. So that's the chorus. That all repeats, and again there are some little variations in the lead guitar parts. So the second time through it goes something like this. And then back into the frenzied dissonant chord stuff. Let me play through the first verse and the first part of the chorus so you can hear how it sounds with the effects on. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. let's talk shoegaze guitar tones then. And I'm not trying to emulate exactly the sounds that Ride are getting on this record. I don't think I can really do that, but I'm just more generally trying to get some good shoegaze sounds. So now I'm going to talk generally about the kind of pedals, the kind of settings you might use to get some good sounds for this particular genre of music. And what I want to do is just break down the two basic guitar sounds that I'm using today, starting with the rhythm guitar part. So for the rhythm guitar part, the guitar I'm using is my 65 reissue Jazzmaster. And as I said, this is quite a key component of the sound because you've got the whammy bar, you can hold on to that as you're strumming and you get that nice modulation in pitch throughout the song. Amp-wise, I'm using my Vox AC30 for the rhythm guitar stuff. And I'm just going to start by letting you hear the sound of the guitar straight into the clean amp. That's the starting point. And then I'm just going to add the pedals gradually so you can hear what they're doing. So just guitar straight into the amp sounds like this. So just a nice basic clean sound. And then I'm going to switch on my first pedal, which is a compressor. It's an MXR Dynacomp, and I think compression is another key element of the shoegaze sound. I wouldn't usually use compression when I'm using fuzz and when I'm using distortion, but I think for shoegaze it's important because you want to even out the dynamics and you want to create that wall of sound, that wash of noise, and that compressor really helps there. So that's my first pedal. You can hear there how it's really smoothing out the dynamics, giving me a lot more sustain. After the compressor, I'm going into a delay pedal. This is just a Boss DD6, and just set for 4 or 5 repeats, kind of a medium delay time. And then after the delay, I've got my reverb, which is a Strymon Blue Sky. And that's set for kind of a hall setting. Got the mix at about 50% there. You don't want to go over the top with reverb, although it's tempting to do that in shoegaze, but you add too much reverb and the sound starts to lose all definition and kind of sets it back too much in the mix, I think. Now after the reverb, I've got my overdrive or my fuzz, and my two favourite shoegaze drive pedals are the Big Muff or the Rat pedal, and they both do a fairly similar kind of job. I think on balance the Big Muff is my favourite just because it's got that slightly scooped sound which really seems to work well for this style of music, and it leaves room for the vocals as well because you've got all of the really fizzy high end and the low end, and there's some space in the mid-range for the vocals. So that's my fuzz of choice. Also notice the pedal order here. I think with shoegaze it's good to go against the common wisdom of pedal order, and I've actually got them the opposite way round as you would normally do. So I've got my reverb and delay first going into the fuzz, and again that serves to mush up the sound and give you that nice wall of noise. So I'm going to turn on my Big Muff. As you can hear, it's quite a noisy one, and this is the complete rhythm guitar sound that I'm using today. Now what I did at the start of this video for the performance is I recorded a live rhythm guitar track, then I overdubbed another rhythm guitar track just so I could split the two of them hard left and right. And for that overdubbed rhythm guitar part I used an extra pedal which was a reverse reverb, and reverse reverb is another classic shoegaze effect particularly associated with Kevin Shields. I'm not sure if Ride are using it on this particular track or not, but it's a great sound for this genre. And the reverse reverb pedal that I'm using is the Digitech Hardwire RV7, which is a great all-round reverb pedal, but it's particularly loved by shoegazers because it's got this great reverse sound in it. And that sounds like this. So let me take you through the setup I'm using for the lead guitar part. And I'm using this guitar given to me by British guitar company Shoegaze, And yes, I got it for free, but I wouldn't be using this guitar unless I thought it was a really good guitar. And it seems to work well for this particular part, I think. I wanted to use a different guitar that contrasted with the sound of the Jazzmaster. So it's the Shoegaze going into my Marshall amp behind me, and that amp is a Marshall Studio Vintage series, and I'll tell you a bit more about that amp in another video. I think that's a whole other story. Now, as far as the effects chain goes, I'll do the same thing that I did with the rhythm guitar part. This is just the sound of the guitar going straight into the amp. So it's got a little bit of crunch there, just naturally coming from the amp, but overall I think this guitar part is quite a clean sound. So I'm adding in the pedals now. I've got the compressor, the same Dynacomp as before. Fairly extreme setting. Then I've got the delay and reverb as before. It's loosely a kind of dotted 8th note delay setting. I haven't got that exact, but I've just done that by ear, and it's roughly that kind of sound. And then on top of that I've got a couple more pedals. I think I've got a chorus, which is my Ibanez Chorus Mini. I actually used that on the rhythm guitar as well, I think, but I forgot to mention it. And finally I've got an Electro Harmonics Pitchfork in there as well, and that's a harmonizer pedal. It's a great pedal, it's quite sophisticated, but here I'm just using it to provide a higher octave, and I'm just blending that in quite subtly. And the idea there is I'm trying to simulate that 12-string sound. So and one final overdub that I've got in the performance at the start of this video is a wah wah fuzz part. So for that I've just got the big muff on again, a crybaby wah, and that sounds like this. That's it for this video. As usual, the tab and the backing track are going to be up on my Patreon page, and I run my Patreon page on a pay what you like basis, so no matter how little or how much you pay, you're going to get full access to all of the stuff on there, and it's actually building up into quite a nice little library of backing tracks and tabs, so do check that out if you're interested. And do let me know your suggestions for more shoegaze tracks, and I'll try and look at one or two of those a bit later in the year. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.